Hello, friends. Today we will talk about the 2007 movie called Halloween. Enjoy watching. A 10-year-old boy in a mask is playing with a rat while his parents are swearing dirty in the kitchen. Due to the fact that the father is disabled in the family, only the mother works. But this does not prevent him from threatening a woman that he will cheat on her with someone. Michael's younger sister was brought to hysterics by screams, and the older one is already used to family scandals and is also rude to her mother, Deborah. The game with the rat ended with Michael washing his hands and knife of blood. The stepfather rushes at the strange son and threatens to break his nose. The school bully blocked Michael's exit from the toilet and tells dirty jokes about his mother and sister. The boys started a fight, and when the director came to separate them, Michael sent him away. Deborah is constantly called to school because of her troubled son. A child psychiatrist, Mr. Louis, also entered the office. He wonders if Michael has had any serious shocks in his life. The fact is that a dead cat was found in his backpack, and many more photos with other tortured animals. This is the first call that the child's mind is sick. Michael ran away from school, taking with him his favorite clown mask. He is already following his abuser, who went home through the forest. Michael attacked the bully, hitting him several times with a large stick on the legs. Then he walked all over the guy's body. The bully begged to spare him, but the young maniac finished the job by smashing his head. At home, the cripple mocks his son and his special love for animals. Despite everything, Michael's mother allowed him to go collect candy for Halloween. His sister was supposed to go with him, but she has business with her patchy boyfriend. Well, Mom went to work in a striptease bar. Soon, Michael returned home. He ate too much candy, took duct tape, and wrapped up his drunken stepfather. He didn't even notice it. And then Michael took a huge kitchen knife and cut the man's throat. The next in line was a shaggy guy. Michael came up behind him with a bat and struck the first blow. The guy fell to the floor in convulsions, and Michael struck several more blows with all his might. After that, the boy went to his sister's room. There he found and put on a mask that their already dead guest had dragged. The girl was surprised to see her brother and immediately got a knife in the stomach. Bleeding, she wandered around the house, but Michael didn't let her go far. Only he and his little sister were left alive in the whole house. Michael, sitting on the doorstep, was waiting for his mother from work. The house was unhooked by the police, and the reporter tells the details of the terrible massacre. Michael himself was admitted to a psychiatric hospital 11 months later. Sam Loomis has been appointed chief medical officer in his case. The boy denies that he killed his relatives. He allegedly doesn't remember anything that happened that very night. His mother visits him once a week. The boy struck up a friendship with the janitor, Ismail. At the hospital, Michael made himself a new mask, and then several more. He takes them off only when his mother comes to him. Behind them, he hides from himself. Michael's behavior is becoming increasingly strange and wild. He wants to go home and denies that he did anything wrong. Loomis arranged to be allowed to go outside. Michael already refuses to take off his mask even in front of his mother, and after a while he stopped talking to his mother and the doctor at all. His mother had left him an old photograph. The nurse sat down next to him and took the photo in her hands without asking. She shouldn't have stayed sitting next to the little patient. Michael grabbed a fork and repeatedly stuck it into the woman's throat. So he added another name to the list of his victims. Deborah cries and watches old recordings with Michael, and then takes a gun and shoots herself in the head. 15 years have passed since then. 3 months later, Ismail retires. During this time, he needs to train a new employee. They entered Michael's cell. All the walls and ceiling are hung with a huge number of homemade masks, and it is better not to touch them. The bully doesn't like it. Ishmael treats the patient with respect, unlike the newcomer, who constantly threatens Mike. After the attack on the nurse, he didn't say a word. After all this time, Loomis admitted that there was nothing more he could do to help his longtime patient. Today is their last meeting. Loomis said goodbye and walked away. The doctor conducts lectures, telling students about what a terrible monster is hiding inside Michael Myers. At night, a new guard brought his cousin to the hospital so that the two of them took advantage of a helpless patient, and they dragged the girl to Myers' cell. He did not react in any way to the lawlessness that was happening until the scumbags grabbed his masks. First, he strangled his cousin, and then smashed the guard's head against the wall. Ismail arrived at the hospital and was surprised that there was no one at the checkpoint. The nurse lived out her last seconds lying under the table. Several more bodies were lying in the corridor. Ishmael always considered Michael his friend. He asks the bully not to do anything stupid and go with him to the ward. But the psycho does not care that the man has treated him well all these years, and he began to drown Ismail in the sink. Then he threw the TV on his head and finished him off. Loomis was informed of the incident that night. A hefty trucker named Grizzly stopped at a gas station to go to the toilet. A man in dirty slippers knocked on his door. He doesn't react to the request to fuck off, so the Grizzly took out a knife, but he didn't have time to use it. Michael attacked the trucker first and began methodically beating him, and then took a knife and stuck it in the poor guy's stomach. So Michael found clothes that fit him. It was October 31st. Laurie Strode, after talking to her parents, went to school. In the evenings, she moonlights as a nurse for the neighbor's boy, Tommy. Michael got to his house, where he found a kitchen knife and an old mask in which he committed his first mass murder. Laurie also came here for some reason. Tommy doesn't approve of this idea because the boogeyman lives here. The girl threw the mail into the house. She just wanted to scare the boy. In the library, the girls plan how they will spend the evening. Michael stands in the middle of the street and stares at them. A moment later, he was gone. The director of the mental hospital is trying to figure out how it happened with Myers. He's been in a coma for the last 15 years, and suddenly he killed all the staff and security. Loomis is sure that Michael went to his hometown, despite the fact that he is hundreds of miles from the hospital. 3 girlfriends were walking home after school and having fun until they saw an ominous silhouette in front of them. Laurie's friends called him names, and the stranger disappeared. Annie's father works as a sheriff. When Laurie was left alone, she felt uneasy. The girl suspects that the strange guy continues to watch her. The cemetery caretaker led Dr. Loomis to the grave of Michael's mother, and there they found a crucified coyote. Someone also stole the tombstone. Laurie's girlfriend Linda and her boyfriend are going to spend the night in the old house of the Myers family. They often had parties here. Linda demanded more beer, and Bobby went to the car to get a couple of cans. On the way back, Bobby pulled a sheet over his head to scare his girlfriend, but Michael dragged him into the room, lifted him by the neck with one hand, and nailed him to the wall with a knife. Michael liked the idea of a sheet, and in this form he came to Linda. When the girl came to pick up a can of beer, Michael strangled her. Meanwhile, Dr. Loomis has stopped by a gun store and purchased a Magnum .357 there. Laura's father warns her daughter to be careful. A lot of maniacs go out on the street that night. However, as soon as the girl left with Annie, it was he who became the new victim of Michael Myers. Laurie's mother is next in line. The bully inflicted several stab wounds on her and then broke the woman's neck. Laurie herself is looking after the neighbor's boy today. Michael came to Annie's house, but so far he has not attacked either her or her younger sister, Lindsay. Dr. Loomis turned to the sheriff for help, but he is not going to strain himself more than usual and offers an excited man to come to his station tomorrow. The sisters went to visit Tommy. The maniac followed them. Annie left her sister with a friend and went to have fun with her boyfriend. The sheriff does not believe the doctor because he believes that he is a charlatan and just makes money from the tragedy that happened here 17 years ago. Then the sheriff called Laurie's foster parents, but no one answered him. The policeman realized that he still had to work. Meanwhile, Michael killed Annie and her boyfriend. The sheriff recalls how after the death of Myers' mother, he took little Boo to another city and dropped her off at the nearest clinic. She was adopted, and it seemed that the story was over. It was time to go home with Lindsay, but on the spot, she found a wounded Annie and her dead boyfriend. Laurie called the police, and the sheriff realized that this was the work of Michael Myers. The maniac started chasing his sister, who ran back to Tommy. Together with the children, she hid in the bathroom. 2 policemen drove up to their house. They went inside. It seems that the criminal is no longer here. But then Michael stabbed the first cop, and having received several bullet wounds, did the same with the second. Michael grabbed Laurie and carried her home. The sheriff found the injured daughter. Terrified children also came running here, who told the doctor about the boogeyman. When Laurie woke up, she found the body of her friend Linda next to her. The girl begs the maniac not to kill her, and he threw away his knife. The big guy showed her an old photo, but Laurie says she doesn't know who it shows. Michael took off his mask and bowed his head. and then Laurie grabbed a knife and plunged it into her brother. Breaking the door, Laurie was able to get out of the room, but then the way out of the basement was blocked by a metal mesh. Michael has already recovered. The girl made her way through the barrier at the very last moment. Going out into the yard, Laurie ran forward and did not notice an empty pool in front of her, into which she fell. Michael sauntered over to the edge of the pool and started down the steps. Laurie won't be able to escape anyway, but then Dr. Loomis called out to him. He asked Michael to stop and then fired 3 bullets into his back. The bully collapsed, and the doctor went down to help the girl get out. It seemed that all the horrors of that night had already ended. Loomis put Laurie in a police car, but the revived Michael broke the window and dragged his sister outside. He dragged her somewhere again. The doctor asked to leave the girl alone and said that it was all his fault, not her. The giant did so. He grabbed Loomis by the head and squeezed it with all his strength. Having dealt with another old friend, Michael again went in search of his sister, who hid in the house. He wanders through the rooms and listens to every rustle. He had not yet guessed where Laurie was hiding, and the girl managed to run to another place. She saw a gun next to Loomis's body and picked it up. With the last of his strength, the doctor grabbed Michael's leg, but Michael didn't care. Laurie hid in the attic. From below, Michael started smashing the ceiling with a stick. As a result, the girl fell down and smashed her face on the floor. Michael attacked her, and the two of them fell from the second floor. When Michael grabbed her wrist, she shot her brother in the head.